Hello, how are you doing? Holler at your boy. This is Dr. Will, and welcome to another Dr. Will show. We've been on hiatus for a while. We've been in ISTE, great, fabulous. We have also been in New Orleans as well. Great food. Now, I am here with one of the connections that I've met at ISTE. Okay, this is Alefiya Bhatia, and we will be talking about coding and stuff. And she works for a great company. Hopefully, I don't jack up the name during the conversation, and all will be well. So, Alafia, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Will. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to have some fun conversations today.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming by virtually. It's coming by as though we're in a live studio or something. But for those who may see this somewhere, Google search, whatever, and they go, "Who is Alefiya Bhatia? Who are you?"
That's the best question I've got all day, Will. I'm an educator. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an edupreneur. And I think all of us as educators are edupreneurs in our own right. We make magic happen in the classroom. We think of new ways of doing things to help our kids. So we all are entrepreneurs in our own right. But I'm an educator. I'm a Montessorian. I used to teach 3 to 6-year-olds at a Montessori school, a couple different Montessori schools for several years, and I loved it. I love my little ones, and every chance I get, I want to go back in the classroom and be with the kids because there's so much inspiration. I decided to step out of the classroom 3 years ago and start our company, Perseverance, which is focusing on helping schools and districts leverage mobile. And we're doing that in a lot of different ways, one of which is teaching kids how to code and how to make apps, one of which is helping districts be more connected through an app for the school. That's kind of who I am. I'm an educator turned entrepreneur.
Excellent, excellent. So you talk about the coding. We're here talk about the coding and such. Now, when I first think of coding, um, I think of a lot of ones and zeros and uh, technical stuff that's just sort of way beyond my scope of reality. So
hmm
I enjoy Twitter, but what went into making Twitter, I go, I don't know. What is coding? Is it just ones and zeros? What else goes into it? How creative is it? Is it just for people who enjoy math and science, or someone who has an artistic sort of side? Would it be a good avenue for them as well?
Oh, that's such a great question, Will. As I mentioned, I am an educator. I don't have any sort of coding background or technical background whatsoever. Um, I can say that I'm a programmer. I'm a coder in my own right. Yes, I don't know the zeros and ones, and yes, I don't know the Javas and the HTML5s and the C++s of the world. I don't know the coding languages, but I'm a programmer in my own right, and here's why. I know how to look at the world and look at what we exist in and the problems that exist and things that bug me or bother me and figure out a way to make them better. And the reality is there's many different ways to make our world better. And today, in our world today, and definitely in the world that our kids are going to be living in when they become adults, problems are going to be solved with technology. One piece of technology or another, we've been doing it for years and we'll continue to do it, and more we're depending on technology to improve the way we live. So if I can identify a problem and think of a creative solution of how to solve it using a piece of technology, I am a coder or a programmer in my own right. And that's really what we're doing with students. It's just focusing on shifting the paradigm from being consumers of technology and taking your iPad and using apps all the time to being creators of it and actually being somebody that can create a piece of technology and solve a problem and help the world in one way or another. One of the examples, and one of my favorite examples, and honestly in terms of what has inspired me throughout my work, is my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies is Twister. Have you seen Twister?
I have.
Okay, so Helen Hunt's there. She's trying to figure out how to study these twisters, these storms, and she has these little, these little sensors that she's trying to get up into the funnel of the storm. And she tried and she tried and she tried again, and then she tried some more until she could figure out a way to make her technology work and to study this and to make make the world safer for people because you have data. And that's really what we're looking at. It doesn't have to be somebody that's only into math and science and into the zeros and ones. And there are those people in the world, and we need to have them, and they're great. We don't know what we do without them. But that's not every one of us. Each and every one of us is not about the language of the code itself. There's a lot of different aspects to it. There's a lot of skills that come with understanding programming that we think are critical, and that's why we're starting to teach that at a very young age. We have kids as young as the 3rd grade that have apps that they've created that are on the App Store.
Wow, that's fantastic, fantastic. Now, I know coding, along with other technologies, are sort of to now take root in the school system, or people are starting to think about, wow, this is next level, but especially when you look at the economy we live in. How can schools sort of blend coding or make coding a part of their curriculum and not just something they do because they set up a coding club or some sort of special time, as opposed to saying, as a part of what we do, we're going to make this adventure, this creativity, this entrepreneurial spirit a part of our everyday learning.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of different ways that we can do that, and that we've seen some schools do it, and a lot more schools think about this. It almost takes us back, say 10, 15 years ago, when we were starting to look at integrating technology in the classroom, starting to use things like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. Before, we used to teach that in a computer class, right? How do you use PowerPoint? How do you use Word? But today, that's a natural part of any class you take. It's a tool that you use to enhance your learning. And that's what we're trying to help schools understand more and more with things like coding and app development or website development or any sort of technology creation. Yes, it can start out in a coding club and it can start out in a technology class, but it really is something that you want to integrate into the things that you're doing in all of your core classes. So as an example of that, some of the things that kids are doing, or teachers are doing rather, with the MadLearn program is they're saying, okay, now our kids have, they've learned how to use MadLearn, they've learned how to create an app. In my history class, I'm going to have my end of semester project be create an app on the Roman Empire. So you're using that tool, blending it with your history curriculum, blending it with what you need to know already, but making it more exciting and more interesting for the students, because now they're making an app, which is something that they're so excited about using and use all the time anyway. So you're absolutely right in your assessment of it does need to go in that direction. We're not there yet. We're very much at a place where we're looking at coding and programming in somewhat of an isolation in our schools, and starting to bring it in slowly but surely. But I think that that's just the natural progression of anything new. We start out with baby steps, and then we start walking and start running. So 3 to 4 years from now, I think we'll be at a place where we're seeing coding happening as a natural part of any class that you're in. But right now, we're seeing it more so in specialized classes, even though we definitely have some trailblazer schools and districts that are saying, nope, we're going to offer this to all of our students across the school, so that they can use it in any classroom regardless of what they're doing. So we're really excited to see that.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me about Crescerence and its mission and some of the work you're doing.
Sure. Sure. So Crescer, the name of our company is Crescerence, and Crescer means to grow or expand. And what we're doing is we're helping schools grow and expand through mobile. So of course, mobile is an insanely important medium of communication today. And we know 3 years ago, 5 years ago, that it was an indispensable item, and today we know that it's almost as good as our hand in terms of how much we need it. So we're helping schools leverage that in a variety of ways. One is, as I mentioned, the MadLearn program. That is, MAD stands for Mobile App Development, and MadLearn is teaching kids how to make apps, how to make technology, and not just use it. And think about their creative ideas. Our kids have such phenomenal ideas anyway. We're helping them put those ideas into something that's real and tangible, and a product that can actually be alive in the marketplace. An example of that, I think, Will, you actually heard about this at ISTE, but one of our teachers in the program created an app called Tweet Me, and it is an app that's been downloaded by hundreds of people across the world, and it teaches educators how to use Twitter. So she had an idea. She was working on MadLearn with her students. She said, oh, well, I'll create an app with my students as well, just to show them what I'm doing, and it turned into something that she actually created into an app on the App Store, and a product that's doing very well. We have another rising sixth grader that has created an app that's been downloaded by over 70,000 people across the country. And she's getting contacts from, and pictures from, and questions from people across the world asking her about her work and seeing if, hey, can you add this to your app, or can you tell me how to do this? And so it's been a phenomenal experience for for students like that, and really looking at how to expand your reach beyond what might be your micro community. So yeah, those are that's one of the main things that we're looking at, and the other part of what we do with our schools is help them improve communications through mobile, through an app for the school or an app for the district. And sometimes, in some cases, it's actually an app that the students are creating. The students are saying, hey, we need an app for our district. Let's make an app for our district. But really an app that is connecting parents with the school, with the district, and improving engagement and communication. So we're all about mobile.
All right. Now, sticking to this mobile game, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, all right? I'm going to put you on the spot now. Now, answer as you feel comfortable, because I want you to keep your job. I want you to keep your job. Is there a platform that is better for building apps, particularly if you're saying I'm taking someone who is a novice, maybe a 13-year-old or 12-year-old, etc., and you want them to learn how to build apps? Are all platforms created equal in terms when it comes to novice learners creating apps?
That's a very, very good question. There are a lot of tools in the world that are app creation tools. Tools that a small business might use, or tools that anybody might use to create an app. So the tools exist. What does not exist is a structured program and curriculum that is walking students of different grade levels through processes and through skills development, and aligning these things with standards that might exist in your state or nationally. There's just not another program like it. And we actually, just in terms of how we came into MadLearn, it was very much the idea of the program came from our students. It came from our star teachers at schools across the country. We've done apps for districts and 150 different schools and districts across the country, and some of the teachers at those schools came, called us and said, hey, you created the app for our school, and our students are looking at that and they have some questions. Would you be able to Skype in and just tell them what happens at your company? Just talk to them a little bit about app development. They'd be really, really happy if they could talk with you. And I said, sure, absolutely, we'd love to do that. Every time we did one of those Skype calls, well, the kinds of questions that we had these kids ask, and the light that we saw in their eyes in terms of, oh, wow, that's how it happens, or you could do that, or you could do that, tell me more about this. It was inspiring. It was so great to see. And we came back as a team and we discussed this experience that we had at a few different schools, and we said, guys, we need to not be the ones making the apps. We need to teach our kids how to do this. We need to give them the tools and give them the capability of doing this. So the very idea of the program came from our students and from our teachers, and so it's very unique. There are a couple other, Google has an app inventor program that's specifically for the Android platform. What we're doing is we're teaching app development and design for cross-platform apps. So we have native apps that we're teaching kids how to make on iOS, on Android, on Windows, and we're really one of the only folks that are doing that. There's just, the breadth and the variety that's needed in today's world. Yes, you could be a star iOS programmer, but then that's all you are. We are really wanting to help enable our kids to be diverse and to really choose kind of their niche by exposing them to a lot of different software, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different implementation mechanisms. So yeah, from that perspective, we're pretty excited about what we're doing with our students, and honestly, just what the students are able to create. It's fascinating. I mean, if you go to the App Store on any of your devices, Windows, Android, or Apple, if you search Crescerance, you'll see some of the apps that students have created, and it's pretty amazing to see what they can do.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us about one of your success stories, some student that you were like, wow, is this person actually 10 years old or whatever? What has blown your mind so far?
So two stories that come to mind. One I already briefly shared with you, which is the sixth grader that has 70,000 people that have downloaded her app. This app is it's a Rainbow Loom app, and I don't know if you've heard of Rainbow Loom, but it's essentially taking rubber bands and weaving them into bracelets or necklaces or bags. And she was a very soft-spoken, shy person, sixth grader, and she wanted to make this app. She was really passionate about it. She wrote the company and asked if she could use their name, and got permission to do so, created this app, submitted the app, and she has been posting. She figured out how to do video creation because she took videos of herself making these different things. She figured out photography. She took pictures of her friends, posing with the different things that she had made. I hear that she's looking at, now that she has so many downloads, she's looking at potentially having a shopping cart on her app and starting to sell some of the things that she's making. But she learned a lot of skills, and even from a language perspective, she was writing down instructions in that app and really making sure her language was perfect, her grammar, her spelling was perfect. So there was a lot of other skills that, I don't think even the teachers realized. We definitely didn't realize how it would help her develop all of these other core skills while creating this app. So she's definitely one that has been inspiring to look at, and she has access to update her app and add new sections and new information, and she's been doing that. So that's a fun one. There's another one that's not live on the App Store yet, but there's a group of students working at one of our schools in Tennessee. It's St. George's Independent School, that's actually working on an app that's about sex trafficking. And this is a group of 9th and 10th graders, I believe, but they are wanting to, one, help increase awareness of how much it's happening in different areas of the world where it happens most, but also sort of a helpline, somewhere where you can go to get help or report something that you've seen or learn more about what to do in different situations, be a resource for, the community at large to just be more informed, but also for victims of sex trafficking. And to see that idea come from a group of kids that are in high school, it's just, I saw the mind map. They actually, a part of the process in app creation is creating a mind map for what you want to create and what are the different sections before you even get started on the platform, before you even start typing and dragging. You really think about your idea and plan it out, and they shared the mind map with us, and I was in tears. I looked at that, and I looked at the detail of it, Will, and it was phenomenal to see that that's, of all the things in the world, that's what these kids were passionate about, and that's what they wanted to help in some way. And when we saw that, we knew that, there's just so much more that we can do with this and really help our students see that they are an important part of the world, and they're an important part in fixing problems that exist in the world. One other example actually that comes to mind is more of an entrepreneur example. This is a young child in Nebraska that I actually would love to hire someday. But he created an app for his town. It was sort of a local community app that was, call it a traveler's guide. It had restaurants and recreation, and here's the history of the town, here's directions, here's a map. And he created this app, and he started with the simple statement of, I want to create an app that somebody's going to buy. So this was the idea that he had. He created this app, he designed it, and then he went to the Chamber of Commerce and he said, buy this. And they did. And so it's an app that's on the App Store, and it's live, and it's, it's there ready for people to download. He then proceeded to go to restaurants and sell them ad space in the app that he had created.
Wow.
So a very entrepreneurial child, and we definitely want to help inspire kids like that. So yeah, just a couple of stories.
Wow, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So when we're looking at mobile and we're looking at all these apps and we're looking at where we are in this century in the economy,
Yep.
what do you say to schools? Because when you say we're working with schools to do this, what do you say to schools to get them, I don't want to say hooked, but to get them to really say, this is important for us to take a look at, or this is something that we really need to embrace. Saying that, look, I work at a public schools district. Now we're really into tech, and we support technology, we push technology. But you have some school districts, technology, quite honestly, is an afterthought. I mean, for them, PowerPoint is being fancy with technology. And so for those school districts who don't see this as a need, what do you say to them to say, if you want your students to go here, this will get them there. This is something that is very much need. This is a skill. This is not only an academic sort of skill, but something that, again, when we talk about school to work, etc., preparing our kids, this is something that will prepare them for the next level.
Right. Right, and you actually answered it for me, Will. It is understanding. Sometimes there is that question of, well, how do we prioritize this opposed to this, and this? And the question is really, what is the purpose of education? What are we trying to do with our students? What are we trying to teach them, or enable them, or inspire them to do or to be? And I think that that's really at the crux of it. I mean, if we want to have education be the vehicle to enable a student to go into the workforce and be successful, then this is something that you need to prioritize. If we want to have education that is a vehicle to enable students to be passionate and understand their skills and their strengths and then follow them accordingly, then this is something that you need to prioritize. If you want to have education be something that is purely retention of information, then of course this is not something that you would prioritize. I've heard this said by several great speakers, but if you're teaching something that is Googleable, you're not doing a very good job. And so we really want to think about how we're teaching something that cannot be Googled. How are we teaching skills that can be transferred into different situations, not just information? And that's really what we're focused on. I mean, we do presentations at conferences all the time, and one of the sessions that we'll do is app development equals skills development. And that's just one example. I mean, this is one thing that you can do. There's 100 things that you should do, and a million things that you have the potential of doing. But this is just one example of a strong set of skills that you can develop through creativity, through design-based thinking, through project-based learning, through real-world connections with the community. We have students that go out in the community and talk to local businesses and say, oh, okay, you're a coffee shop, you have this, and this, you want an app, we're going to go back to our school and we're going to be the ones that create your app for you. So now we have students that are actually, signing on clients themselves, and they're, working in a real business environment even while they're in school. And those are, we value, we're a young company, we're full of entrepreneurs, and we value those entrepreneurial skills heavily. And that's not just us. I mean, major companies across the world, you talk about Fortune 500 companies, the kinds of things that they're looking for in the candidates that they hire are not what your GPA was or how well you did in this test or that test. Nobody looks at that anymore. It really is what your skills are, what your capabilities are, how you're able to present your ideas and solve problems. And not just solve problems, but identify the problems and then be able to solve them. So that's what we're looking at.
Awesome, awesome. Now, before we let you go, what Well, how can schools get in contact with you or your company?
Sure, sure. So the easiest way to do that, especially if you're interested in bringing app development to your students, is to go to our website, which is mad-learn.com. It's mad-learn.com. And that's a great place to go. You'll see a video that talks about the program, and you can connect with us there. Of course, we're on Twitter at MadLearn, or at Perseverance, and we'd love to follow you back and learn with you and grow with you.
Awesome, awesome. And for those who are viewing this, there's going to be some bio information, some cover information that'll be posted above the video that'll take you there, et cetera, et cetera. So before we go, what are your parting shots for the viewers? Is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't said thus far?
Be brave. This is something that a good friend of mine, Angela Myers, and she's a keynote speaker, she talks about all the time, and it inspires me every time I listen to her talk. We need to be brave. We need to step outside our comfort zone, and really enable ourselves to grow, and that's how we can enable our students to grow. So yes, we're a company, but we're built of educators. Half the folks on our team are educators, and we're trying to be brave every day. And there's a lot of different ways for us to do that. So one of the ways that we've chosen is mobile and coding and programming, and there's other ways that we'd love to hear from you as well. I'm sure you have phenomenal ideas. Share them with us. If you're an educator, if you're a teacher, administrator, you have an idea that you think you can turn into something and that you want to work on, feel free to reach out to me. I'm an edupreneur. I'd love to brainstorm with you. I'd love to share my ideas with you, or give you, give you some thoughts on how you might turn your idea into reality. But be connected. Be connected, and always, always meet as many people as you can, because there's great people in the world, just like Will, and you never know what you can find when you have a conversation with somebody.
Awesome, awesome. Again, thank you very much, Alefiya. See, I had it just for this. Just went out around. Alefiya. Thank you very much for being on the show today. Hopefully, others will be inspired and will check the company out and bring the schools there. And because when I hit stop broadcast, I'm going to ask you how we can get you at our school district. So. Thank you for watching, everyone, to another show, and tune in at the next one.
Thanks, folks. Bye. Thanks.